ओम श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं. We started the study of Shankaracharya's Atmabodha on the last Wednesday, and we had read up to 3 shlokas there. Now, we should remember certain things, that this is a special book from Shankaracharya, where instead of using reason to support the knowledge gained from the Shruti Vakyas, he has used the medium of Upamana Praman, comparison, similes in every shloka. That is the speciality of the book. And the name is Atma Bodha, the knowledge of the self. Knowledge which is self, self which is knowledge. We roughly translate knowledge of the self. Self is knowledge itself. Anyway, and we saw that it commences without a so-called Mangalacharan, and it states right from the first shloka, we go back, the adhikar is told in the first shloka, tapo vikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshyoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. Vidhiyate means is prescribed. Atma bodh, knowledge of the self. For whom it is useful, for whom is prescribing this? We remember by this word prescribe. Now, in the university, a book is prescribed for the graduate course. A book is prescribed for the undergraduate course. A book is prescribed for the postgraduate course. Meaning that unless you are a graduate, you cannot have that book, postgraduate course. If a book is prescribed for the undergraduate course, unless you have passed your higher secondary and come to the university, you cannot understand that. That is the meaning. So here he has prescribed for whom. First is Tapo Vikshina Papana. We saw last time in great detail with the help of 17th chapter of the Gita how we should practice austerities in order to purify ourselves. Here the word is in order to weaken or remove almost, stop our sinful tendencies. Papa means our sinful tendencies. To attenuate that, we must do the practice of austerities of body, mind, and speech. Then we have to earn the Shamadhi Shat Sampatti. Shama, mental control, Dhamma, physical control, Uparati, withdrawal inside, Titiksha, bearing the duels of life, Samadhan, trying to keep the mind on God, Shraddha, the dynamic faith that the higher truths can be realized, have been realized, I can realize it. This is what makes the mind peaceful, Shantanam. And then Vitarag is both Vivek and Vairagya, dispassion with discrimination, discrimination with dispassion, and Mumuksha, the yearning to be free. It requires the feeling of bondage first. And the bondage is bondage of desires, bondage of wants, bondage of imperfection. Ultimately, we find it is the bondage of wrong knowledge. And the keenness to get rid of that, for these people, he is prescribing Atma Bodha. And we also thought that if you do not have that, it does not mean we should not study it. The study itself is gradually make us fit. So now we go to the second shloka. बोधोन्य साधनेभ्यो हि साक्षात् मोक्षैक साधनम पाकस्य वन्यवत् ज्ञानम विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति. Here the central word is jnanam, and we tried our best to understand jnanam. Jnanam is not information, jnanam is not intellectual conviction. Jnana is the change of our wrong consciousness into the right consciousness. Gradually it comes mainly by Shruti, by the people's advice who have realized God. When they tell something, it influences quite strongly if we have this adhikar. If we have that fitness which has been described, then just a statement from the Rishi that thou art that will influence us tremendously. And that will remove our wrong notion that I am a finite being in this body. I am a finite being, I am a subject in the world of objects. This is our wrong knowledge. I am the body, I am the indriyas, I am the mind. This is our false knowledge. And we see in the Mahapurushas, we see in the people who have realized their truth that they are Satchit Ananda, their existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, transcendent, immanent, one without a second. That is their real nature. And when this real nature is realized by us, that is called Jnanam. Now, this change of consciousness from the false to the real is the main means of moksha. The main means to attain freedom from all the imperfections is this. Now, when it is said it is the main means, it means so many auxiliaries are to be used. We do work to purify ourselves. Of course, that is taken for granted in the adhikar. But we have devotion to God and so many auxiliaries we use. But if somebody asks, what is the main means? Then we have to say change of consciousness. For this, he has given an example that if we have to cook food, we use pot and water and whatnot. But what cooks food? The fire. So this is how, by giving one illustration, he makes us understand, assimilate, and slowly realize the truth within. Then the third shloka we saw, because some people strongly believe that doing good karma is the only way to mankind. Lot of people will preach that when you are born, do good karma. But avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartaye vidya avidyam niyanti eva teja timira sangavat. Avidya karma means the dual consciousness in action. That is karma. I breathe. Swamiji has said this is karma. I sleep is a karma, so long as I am the doer. So, and the ritualistic karma. This karma is not virodhi of wrong knowledge. Karma is based upon wrong knowledge, so karma is not opposite to wrong knowledge. So, it cannot destroy the wrong knowledge. Vidya, we define Vidya as culture of right consciousness. The culture of right consciousness will definitely destroy the wrong consciousness. Example, Teja Timira Sangavat. There may be intense darkness, but light will destroy it. Light will automatically destroy. Light is opposite to darkness, and so light will destroy it. There is a beautiful poetic expression on this by Saint Gyaneshwar. He says people say that the sun is enemy of darkness. I asked the sun, have you seen darkness that you destroyed? That means this is a poetic expression. When the sun is there, darkness is not there. So this is what happens when the right consciousness is being cultured. The wrong consciousness has to go. And that is why this culture of the consciousness has been prescribed in this book. Now, wrong consciousness comes in so many forms. And wrong consciousness itself becomes the obstruction in getting the right consciousness. So point after point has to be illuminated. That is the Atmabodha. Atmabodha being prescribed means that so many notions, so many ideas due to past impressions come in our mind and they have to be explained, elucidated, negated, illumined one by one. This is the process we have to do. So here, the first thing is, you say this is a wrong consciousness, but I feel I am a limited being. Feeling of a limited being, consciousness somehow bound by, associated with, attached to this particular body and mind is what I am. Now, what is the particular body? Nobody can define. Can you define our body? There is a food outside. It is not my body. When the food is eaten, it is my body. And when the excreta is thrown, it is not my body. If the nails are cut, hairs are cut, it is not my body. So anybody cannot define his body at all. And yet the notion persists. Not only I am the body, but I am some being limited by the body. Same is the case with my indriyas. Suppose I lose my eye. Have I gone? But we think that I means eye, ear, nose, etc. Mind. Can I be limited by my mind? Mind can be illuminated. And mind changes every moment. And sometimes happy, sometimes miserable. But in spite of all this, the notion persists that I am bound by this body, indriyas, mind, etc. By the eye consciousness itself. We have seen that the eye consciousness in a small child is very different than the eye consciousness in the young man and the old man. And yet the notion persists that I am limited. Now, how to explain that it is not so? So we read the fourth shloka. Parichinna iva ajnana tannashe sati kevalaha स्वयं प्रकाशते ही आत्मा मेघा पाये अंशुमानिव. The nature of Atman is described as Kevala. We have to understand this word very thoroughly because this word is used by many Indian philosophers, especially the Sankhya's. Sankhya's think that I am consciousness only. I am not matter. But the nature of consciousness is not known by them. Matter is there, consciousness is there, of which I am the consciousness. I am consciousness, you are consciousness, so many consciousnesses are there. And they call this as Kevala. Kevala means I am not matter, I am consciousness. I am different consciousness, you are different consciousness, that does not matter. But I am not matter, this they call Kevala. We can describe it in English as aloof transcendence. But that is not the correct idea. That is not the reality. Kevala means one without a second. Kevala means I am the consciousness. Other than this one consciousness, there is nothing called matter. Other than this one consciousness, there is no two, three, four. That is the nature of the self. Against this, we feel I am a limited consciousness. Though we understand the difference between consciousness and matter, we say I am a limited consciousness. So this is due to wrong knowledge that we have seen from the beginning. This is due to wrong knowledge. Parichinna iva, as if limited. Ajnana, due to wrong knowledge. Ajnana should always be translated as wrong knowledge, not only absence of knowledge. Absence of real knowledge, immediately there is wrong knowledge. So, This wrong knowledge, Atma, the subject in this shloka is Atma, the real nature of the self, the real nature of myself, yourself, everybody's self. It is one without a second. But due to wrong knowledge, it appears as a limited we, Parichindayo. And we have been told in the third shloka that if we culture the right consciousness, this will be destroyed. So, when this wrong knowledge is destroyed, what happens? Kevalam, Swayam Prakashate Atma. You do not require any other thing. Though various means are used only to make this knowledge perfect. But when the knowledge becomes perfect, you do not require anything else. Doing good karmas to go to heaven is not necessary. It does not mean doing bad karma, because no karma in you, no doership in you. So, example, clouds are very limited. Sun is unlimited. But these limited clouds cover the sun. Clouds never cover the sun, you understand? Clouds cover our vision. If you go beyond the clouds and you ask the sun, are you covered? He says, I am never covered. Your vision is covered. So, even if we raise our four fingers like this, our vision is covered. And then, if these clouds go away, Anshuman means the sun with the rays. Even the example is given that if there are clouds in front of the sun, when the sun does not appear, when the clouds are removed, the sun appears infinite. The sun of knowledge, which is our real nature, is within, it will shine by itself. We do not require a light to shine it. What we require, it is being covered by wrong knowledge. That wrong knowledge being destroyed, the sun, which is knowledge by itself, Atman, which is knowledge by itself, which is one without a second, will be revealed. So, self appears to be limited due to wrong knowledge. If the wrong knowledge is destroyed, the self will appear, self will be realized as unlimited, one without a second, by itself it will shine. Example, when the clouds are removed, the sun appears in its full glory. Now, another point has come, settler point. This knowledge will it not remain? How do you say that Atman is one without a second? You have required a knowledge to get at it. So is it not there that Atman is one thing and knowledge is another thing? It is not a play on words, no, appears so. It is a very deep Vedantic truth. Aham Brahmasmi, I know I am not other than Brahman. If this knowledge remains, I has not gone. This is called Vritti Jnana. It is a vibration in the mind. Instead of the wrong vibrations, I am matter, I am body, I enjoy this world. This will be replaced by not only I know Brahman, I am Brahman. Mind you, the experiencer I remains. Now, what to do? Will it make it dual? Yes, it makes it dual till this I goes away. So, how this I goes away? Ajnana kalusham jivam ज्ञानाभ्यासाद विनिर्मलम कृत्वा ज्ञानम स्वयं नश्येत जलम कतक रेणुवत. Due to wrong knowledge, we have got a jiva. We have got a limited being because of ajnana. Now we practice knowledge. We have to practice knowledge, that is called vidya. So when we practice knowledge, then jiva becomes nirmal, without impurity. Then what the knowledge will do, the practice of knowledge? Kritva jnanam swayam nashet. I know Brahman, I am Brahman, this knowledge will go away. What will remain? Brahman will remain, which is knowledge itself. Please try to understand this. I am Brahman is a vritti of the mind. So long as vritti is there, dualism is there. Very, very subtle, undetected dualism is still there. But then what happens? By example, we'll understand. No logic comes here. Tataka Renuvat. In the modern days, we use alum to purify water. Water has some dirt in it, unwanted impurities. We put some alum. Then what the alum will do? All the impurities will go down. And what will happen to alum? It will also go down. On the above we get the pure water. This is the example given. Now understand philosophically. I am body, I am a limited being. Against this we are cultured, I am Brahman. It will destroy the wrong knowledge that I am a limited being. And then what happens to this mental wave? Mind functions in ignorance. In that mind, there is a wave, I am Brahman. It has destroyed my ignorance. So the wave itself will go away. This is the subtlest point of Vedantic knowledge. Aham Brahmasmi wave is different from other waves. In other waves, I am seeing you. I am subject, you are object, it will never go. I have realized Brahman, I have seen Brahman, I am Brahman. Brahman appears as an object in this wave. But Brahman by itself is not an object. It is my reality. It is the reality of all objects. It is my reality. It is the reality of the whole world. Without it, there is nothing. So, this vritti will destroy this I. This I who realizes Brahman, this I will dissolve it. I will, you can say dissolve, we can use any word. Camphor, you put a fire, it goes away. Like that, this Aham Brahmasmi vritti destroys my ignorance. Ignorance having gone, there is no place for vritti to stand. There is no place for mind to function. And so that also goes away. This he explains by a simple example that if you put alum, alum removes impurity. Alum does not remain there. Alum also goes away. In those days, there was a seed, Katakarenu, same thing like alum. So, Katakarenu, what? Like Katakarenu purifying water and goes away along with the impurities. In the same way, this vritti, mental wave, destroys ignorance. Ignorance having gone, the vritti does not stand, it also goes away. That is the, so many doubts come and they are being clear. What will happen? Will this vritti remain? No. How it will go away? Because it has removed ignorance, so it does not have a place to stand and it also goes away. How we understand that? Put alum in water, all impurities are gone. Where is alum? It has also gone. So that is the example given to tell us. In Shri Ram Krishna's example, he says one thorn is pricking my body. I use another thorn to remove it, and both I throw away. So this Vidya or culture of conscious meaning here is that eternally you don't have to practice. You reach the state of perfection where you are really one with the whole universe, and then you do not require practicing again and again. You are perfect forever. And so, where is this practice gone? Well, practice has gone along with the thing which it wanted to destroy. In another simpler language, I will say, the whole effort of I should be to destroy I. And that being the effort, along with it effort, that I also goes away. Another doubt. I see the world, I feel I am dual. How do you say it is unreal? Many people fall into this pit. I remember one incident very graphically. It happened many years ago. One of my friends had gone to America for research and all that. Came back after 7 years. I was in Nagpur Ashram. On the ground, one brick was lying. He kicked that brick and said, "Is this also Maya? This gross thing which I see, is this also Maya?" So this is the doubt. And doubt is produced by present experience. And the present experience is that, is this Maya? What is the reply you will give to him? In dream also you have kicked not only bricks, you have kicked many bigger things than this brick in dream also. Were they real? Simply because you experience, does it make it real? Experiences, the example of illusory experiences are plenty in life. How to understand? Think of the dream. In dream, you might have fight wars. Did you fight them? In dream, you might have changed your place and gone to foreign country, but you are all the time lying on the cot. So the simple example of the dream will remove this doubt that our experience being there, it is real. No. Experience does not make it real. Think of the dream. So, samsaraha swapnatulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyavad bhati prabodhe sati asad bhavet. Where attachments and hatreds and filled with these types of things in this world, so it appears real. I'm attached to somebody, I hate somebody. Is this all unreal? All the mixture of my feelings and the world I see, is this unreal? He says, yes. Compare dream, Swapna Tulya. And he explained that. Swakale Satyavad Bhati. When you are dreaming, the dream appears very real. No doubt comes ever. Swakale, in its own time, Satyavad Bhati. It appears to be real. Prabodhe Sati, when you wake up, Asad Bhave. Then dream is vanished. Dream has become unreal. When you wake up, the dream becomes unreal. When you wake up in the knowledge of reality, this dream will disappear. This Raga Dvesha, the Sankul, so many, if you enter any family or enter family life or the world or the politics, how many petty mindednesses go away are existing, you see. You are puzzled by the petty mindedness. But if you awake in your real nature, oh, it was all an appearance. That is what will happen. It is all a play at the most. It is like a drama at the most. So, whenever this doubt comes to you, so many opposite feelings, so many perceptions, how they can be real, just remember dream. And you will find that when you are dreaming, it was very real to you. Just like the waking state is appearing very real, dream state was appearing very real. But once you got up, all these big things gone. There is a Vedantic story on this. There was a farmer and the couple had a son. And they were loving that son very much, one single son. And he became sick. And the farmer was tending on him, continuously attending him. But he became so tired that he slept. And in sleep, he had a dream. And the son died. So the wife woke him up. And wife was crying and crying. and he was not weeping at all. He said, you are serving your son so much. You appear to be so much attached to him. You are so much loving him. And why you are not weeping now? He said, in dream I had become a king. And I had 7 or 8 sons, all brilliant. And you suddenly woke me up. I have lost my 8 sons. Shall I weep for the 8 sons or this son? This is the example given. In dream, it was very real that he was a king and he had 8 sons and all were brilliant. And simply by waking up, he had not to do anything. Simply he was waking up. So not only kingdom is gone, but 8 sons are gone. So he said, I am thinking, shall I weep for 8 sons lost or this son lost? This is another type of dream. So whenever this problem troubles our mind, Atma Bodhi is teaching us, is prescribing us. So immediately bring this thing that in dream it was appearing real. When I wake up, dream has gone. So this dream, when we wake up in our real nature, then this dream will go. Now, another question. How long this world will appear real to us? Many questions are asked. When this Maya began? When this Maya ends? How long will you appear this world to be real? The answer is, so long as you do not realize your real nature. Simple answer. तावत् सत्यम जगत भाति शुक्तिका रजतम यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्. In the nacre, it appears like silver. How long silver will appear on the nacre? That is the example. Brahman, so long as it is not known, not realized, Sarvadhishtanam, Brahman is the Adhishthan or the substratum on which the world is appearing. Brahman is the substratum on which all the world is appearing, and it is one without a second. So long as we have not realized it, world will appear real. So if the nacre appears as silver, another example, a snake appears on the rope. Then do you bring a stick to hit it? Just bring light and see it is rope. Snake is gone. So when the knowledge comes, knowledge, realization of Brahman, which by very definition and which is knowledge, is the basis of all our illusions, and it is one without a second. So the moment you realize it, this goes on. Both Anvaya Vyatirek. We are told that we do not know it, so illusion is there. And when we know it, the illusion vanishes. And that is what we are told. That dream goes away in waking state. If you wake up to our real nature, dream goes away. So it is being stated how long we dream, so long as you have not got up. So, Tavat, till then, Jagat appears to be Satya, like silver appearing in nacre, Yavat, till that time, na gyayate, not known Brahma, which is Sarvadhishtanam, the basis of all, and Advayam, one without a second. There is nothing other than Brahman. So long as that is not realized, the world will appear real. Other side of it. It is the Brahman itself which is appearing as the word. World is unreal, Brahman is real, and that Brahman appears as this world. It is full knowledge. So, example is given. Satchidatmani anusyute nitye Vishnu prakalpita vyaktayo vivida sarva hatake katakadivat. Vishnu means all-pervading reality, not a particular god. Vishnu is not the name of a particular god. That is how we think. The meaning of Vishnu is Vishli Vyaptatvat. Due to its all-pervading nature, it is called Vishnu. Now, in the all-pervading Brahman, which is Nitya, which is unchangingly eternal, which is existence, consciousness, bliss, that being Anusyuta, that being permeating everything, the world appears. Vishnu Prakalpita, imagine. That means they are unreal, but we see them. So it is called on the all-pervading Vishnu, all the different manifestations are imagined. Vyaktayo Vida Sarva, all of them, different manifest. What is Vyakti? As soon as this word Vyakti comes, I remember the friend who explained to me. I can tell you the name. I was in Chandigarh, and the president of our managing committee was Justice Gupta, Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court. He told me, we remember some compound words more easy, Abhivyakti, manifestation. He said, Brahman being manifested in a particular way is Vyakti. Individual means Brahman being manifested in a particular way. That is called Vyakti. Vyaktayo Veda Sarva. And Vyakti manifestation of Brahman is different in infinite ways. In man different, in animals different, and different men different. Now how to understand this different? Hatake Kataka Divat. Hataka means gold. Kataka Divat means the ornaments. Gold appears as ornaments. Has gold changed? Ornaments is the name and form of gold. So a simple example that ornaments are nothing but gold, we understand that the world of appearance, different manifestations. We get bangle, we get necklace, there are different manifestations. Same gold. So Brahman has infinite manifestations. That does not make it various, does not make it many. It is one without a second. And the gold is interpenetrating all the ornaments. Similarly, this reality, one without a second Brahman, is interpenetrating, permeating all that manifestations. So, on the interpenetrating substratum, all pervading, these manifestations are being imagined. Idea is there. All are manifestations, all are different, just like ornaments and gold. So in the example he has explained Upadan Karan. What is world made of? Brahman. Why it appears different? Well, manifestations are different. Same reality manifest in this man, different manifestations. So, Vyakti means the particularized manifestation of Brahman, just like ornaments for gold. Now, I fail to experience. The sadhaka is telling, under attack of Maya is coming to him. I am a Jiva. Lord is different from me. And I am a Jiva, you are a Jiva, so much differences are there. How to understand that it is one? To that, another illustration and example is being given. यथा काशो ऋषिकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभु तद्भेदात् भिन्नवद् भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्. The only example available to the Advaitis is Akasha. Now it is a difficult concept, please. The Westerners up till now have not formed any concept of Akasha. Space is never empty. They imagined some years back a substance called ether, not the ether we use in organic chemistry. They imagined a substance ether, but then they could not find it fit into their theories. Akasha is the primordial state of matter. Akasha is the unformed state of matter. Akasha is indiscrete matter. So, from Akasha, some sort of solidification, Vayu comes. From that, Teja comes. From that, water comes. From that, Prithvi comes. Now, something is there. Akasha is inside. There is a jar. Inside jar, Akasha is there. In the wall of the jar also, Akasha is there in the form of the wall. In any substance, inside also there is Akasha. And if there is a container, inside that also is Akasha. Understand how? Suppose I dip something in water, the water becomes displaced. When I dip something in the space, does the space become displaced? That thing also is made of space. Space is a very rough translation. Some of the Indian concepts can never be translated to any other language. Akasha is Akasha. And in Akasha, we keep a jar. Immediately it appears there is Akasha in the jar, Akasha outside the jar, Akasha in another jar. Has Akasha been separated? Because in the wall of the jar also there is Akasha. Akasha is a continuous, subtlest element. So, appearance is that Matakasha, Akasha in the cosmos, Akasha in the ashrama, Akasha in a room, Akasha in a ghata. Now, this illustration tells us that jivas are different, bodies are different. So, in this body there appears God, in that body appears God. Has God been broken? Is God too? Am I really different than you? So this is illustrated by, this is brought to us nicely by simply by the Akash, Upma of Akash. Now here, the word used for God is Rishikesha. Now I'll make some small comments here, practical life. There is a place 24 kilometers from Haridwar. I lived there once 1 year and once 8.5 years. It is wrongly called as Rishikesh. The spelling is done Rishikesh, Rishikesh. It is a apabhramsha, it is a distorted form, please. The name of the place is, if you have to spell in English, Rikesh, Rishikesh. And in correct translation, HRI is not written, HR with a dot. Rishikesh. Now, what is the meaning of the word Rishikesh? We have sense organs and we are not masters of the sense organs. If somebody is master of his sense organ, and is master of all our sense organs. That is called Rishikesha. Rishika means organs which bring joy to us. They bring misery also. Harsha means joy. Rishika means instruments bring with joy to us. That is organs. The Lord of Rishikas is Rishikesha. There is a temple in Rishikesha and it is called Bharat Mandir. That also Bharat is not any Shantanu's son or any king. Bharat is not Rama's brother. Bharat is now in the previous shloka where it's called Vishnu, all-pervading God. Now this all-pervading God is the nourisher of us all. So it is called Bharat. In Sanskrit, Bharan Poshan, sustaining and uh, um, developing them. That is, all of us are sustained and developed by the reality. Now in that temple, as we say Jai Shri Ramakrishna Dev ki Jai, like that there is a Jaikara. And the Jaikara is Rishikesha Maharaj Bharat ki Jai. Rishikesha Maharaj Bharat ki Jai. You understand? Same Vishnu is called Bharata, same Vishnu is called Rishikesha. Now the Puranas develop like anything. They will show you. The rishis had very long hair, so it is called Rishikesha. That is Apabhrashita word. That Rishikesha is used here. Here Rishikesha is used to denote Vishnu, who is all-pervading. Rishikesha is used to denote Lord, who is the master of all our sense organs. So, another word here is Upadhi. Upadhi is a word means not my real nature, but somehow I am associated with that. That is called Upadhi. In our worldly life, Upadhi is a degree, is BA, MA. That is not my nature, I assumed it. So Upadhi means something which is not my real nature, but somehow I feel that my nature, that is called Upadhi. No, Upadhis are many. This body, that body, these are Upadhis. Cosmic body, that is a Upadhi. So this Rishikesha, Nana Upadhigata, Vibhu. Rishikesha is Vibhu. Vibhu means all pervading. All pervading Lord is Vishnu. Vishnu itself is the master of all our senses. So Rishikesha is Vibhu. But it is associated with Nana Upadhis. My body, your body, these are the Upadhis. It is not a real nature. Nana means different. That Bhedat. And the Upadhis are different. Bhinnavad Bhati. So the all-pervading, one without a second Lord, due to various, in the English it is called limiting adjunct, Upadhi. Due to different limiting adjuncts, he appears different. Then Nashe in two ways. Huh? Suppose you break the jar, then Akasha is the same. In our case, when we lose our sense of individuality by ignorance, then Kevalo Bhavet. Kevala is one without a second again. Example, Akasha, Yatha Akasha. Jar is there, room is there, field is there, these are upadhis. There also Akasha by real nature. But instead of Akasha, they appear different. So it is upadhis. And according to upadhis, Akasha appears different. So difference between you and me difference between me and Lord is only due to association of different upadhis. Lord, we say is the Lord of the universe. Rishikesha. I am limited to this body, you are limited to that body. These limitations are only upadhis, they are not in the real nature at all. And so, the difference, apparent difference between you and me, apparent difference between me and Lord is explained that it is due to the different upadhis, it is not in its nature. As per Akasha appears different by upadhis, buy a jar, a room, a field. These are upadhis. Akasha is same everywhere. So, Tannashe. When the upadhis are gone, that means our mind becomes free from the sense that I am this body, kevalo bhave. Then our real nature is realized as one without a second. Example, Akasha. So the syntax will be Rishikesho Vibhu, the all-pervading Rishikesha, Nana Upadhigato, associated with different limiting adjuncts, Tad Bhedat, because difference in them, Bheda Bhinnavad Bhati, appears to be divided, Tan Nashe, when the Upadhis are destroyed, Kevala Bhavet becomes one without a second. Example, Akasha. This is the shloka. So, what can you do? What logic you will do? We are feeling different. Yes, you are feeling different because of Upadhi. Real nature, these do not stand. That is how the difference between jivas and difference between different jivas and difference between man and God is being explained as due to the limiting adjuncts. Chaitanya is only one, like Akasha is only one, continuous, all-pervading, Ati Sukshma. Due to different upadhis, it appears as Akasha in the jar, Akasha in this, Akasha in that. I think enough for the day. We read the 3 shlokas again and 6 more. We read 9 shlokas today. I think enough for the day. And we resume this on Wednesday. In between, you know, all of you, that on Monday, I'm having a class on Karma Yoga arranged by the Advaita Ashram. You have that link, perhaps all of you. So, for the day, Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam